Hi there, this is Dawn. I'm back in my art room working on my blooms page for the Roxy's Journal of Stitchery Volume 6 field notes. And yesterday, the previous video I worked through some of the decision making that I was doing around what I was going to use, where I was going to put it, and of course after I turned the camera off I took it all off and started again, which is quite often what I do till I really can work through and be happy with where I end up. And I think it looks like a burst of spring blooms. I'm just finishing off stitching on the pieces and I just wanted to come back. I'm really quite happy about how each of these have integrated themselves into the background so that it almost looks like one piece, which I actually quite like the look of. They look like they're all growing together in the garden, but I'm just finishing this last little bit off. So these pieces that were on the older linen managed really well. This new linen didn't. And I had them all pinned in place while I was stitching all around the page, and slowly they got more raggedy by the minute, and I really thought, that's not a very good thing. And yesterday when I was talking about it, I mentioned backing it, which I hadn't done, and now I have, because as soon as I started to stitch it, it just started to break away. And I thought, oh, while it's going to be in a book, it's not going to be handled every day, I still don't want it breaking away. And I had a feeling that just basic movement would make that happen. Where the older linens don't do it at all. I don't know why, they would have been starched in their day, but I'd washed them and they were no longer starched, but possibly the fabric had just got a bit stiffer as it aged. So what I wanted to tell you that I did was I just used this very fine iron-on interfacing. It's really tissue thin. It's not got any it's not got any weight that's going to change the hand of the fabric, which is what I liked. And because I'd already cut it out and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get this, it's going to be stuck to the iron. But I have this thing called a Raja cloth, and some of you may know about it. That's what it's called, a Raja cloth. I have had it for so long that I wouldn't know where to buy them from. But it's quite peculiar in that it seems to be coated, and you can see it's well used. I've used it for years and years. But what it doesn't do, you can, put it over the thing that you're ironing, even though the sticky back was on the embroidery. I couldn't get it right up close to the actual design because it was too small, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't manage that. But by putting the Raja cloth on here, ironing it, wherever the stiffening had gone outside the edges, it just peels off. And so well worth the investment if you can find one. I know there are other ones around that are sort of plasticky. I think I've seen in some of the, sort of dressmaking shops. I can't remember where I bought it, but that's what it's called if you want to look it up. I don't know, checked means probably it was checked, I guess, but Raja cloth. Well worth the investment if you're looking for something to help with that sort of thing. Good. All right. So where am I up to? I just wanted to go back and finish this off with you before I get on to the next thing. I don't know how close. I noticed yesterday that I was a bit far away from the camera, And while I don't want to keep reaching up and zooming it in and zooming it out, I thought if I just hold it up, hopefully that will help. But you probably didn't, see clearly what I was doing when I was finishing some of this embroidery. You'll notice that I did cut it up. I cut it in 2 pieces because I cut this piece first with the 3 flowers, and then I thought, the other bit was just sitting on the table, and I thought, I might as well use it, and popped it in there. I've added a few extra bits to what I would have shown you originally. And my intention is to do a little bit more embroidery. So I'll go through that with you as well. So what I'm doing is I'm just doing a very small overcast stitch. But in saying that, I'm coming a good way in, because this is that newer linen, and it's very fragile on the ends. And so with a thread that's a pretty close match, it's not probably quite, but it's close, I'm coming into it. So I have my needle coming up from the outside of the embroidery and taking it inside. Is that clear? Hopefully that's clear. Because what I think, because the thread, I don't know if you can see it happening, but the thread drags on the fabric, and I'd rather drag it in than out, because I think if I drag it out, it'll just keep fraying away, and there'll be absolutely nothing left, and nothing left for the embroidery to hang on to. I did have to cut off that bauble bit that I'd embroidered. I can't remember where it was. It was along here somewhere, possibly along there. I just, cut through the threads and took it out so that I could leave myself a bit of stitching space. Yeah, I think it was around here somewhere, because it was literally, there wasn't a thread between the two, so I didn't realise that I was going to do that when I did it, so that's all right. I actually don't mind unpicking. If I really hate it, I take it out. I don't leave it there for something just because I've done it. And my friend who we were visiting last weekend, I had been quilting an old quilt that I'd made a long time ago, and it needed repairing, and I was doing it instead of the normal traditional style of quilting. I was doing it as a cantha stitch, and I hated it when I had finished. Well, I'd got along with it. I started in the middle like you normally do had I started on the edges? No, I'd started on the edges like you would do with a cantha quilt, traditional cantha quilt, and I was making it pucker, and I was doing all sorts of things, and I'd probably gone around the whole quilt, I don't know, half a dozen times or something. And I was like, nah, I can't live with that. That's coming out. And she was like, oh, my God, you've done all that stitching. And I said, I don't care. It can't stay like that. It just has to come out. So, yeah, I don't mind it. Of course, I'm going to run out of thread now before I get to the end. So that's a nuisance. But it feels quite nice. I really like the bulk once you get a few layers stitched down. I love the feel of it in my hand. Excuse me. So yeah, so nothing much has happened between yesterday and today. I'm just, normal family stuff. But I needed to do a bit of houseworky things this morning, did a bit of that, had a chat with my mum, had a chat with my sister, had a chat with my daughter. Oh, that all takes time. That's okay. It's always nice to have a chat. We were just making a few plans for the weekend. So that was good too. My sister lives in Melbourne and she's still working, but she's going to come down for the weekend and stay with my mum, so that'll be nice. We'll be able to have a catch up because she's been away overseas. My grandchildren have got a curriculum day. Now, if you have what we call a curriculum day with school is when the teachers go off and have some PD or whatever it is, training of some description that they do. But it makes it hard for families that are working. And so those two will be here next week, so that'll be nice. I'm sure there'll be a moment of, can we get on that video with you, Nana? So you never know. The granddaughter is the one that I made the, the sewing kit for. So she's kind of probably want to get her sewing out because, as I said, they've been keeping a close eye on me on the telly, so that will happen. So, yeah, so it was a bit of a morning of organisation. Got things ready for tea. That will happen because it's only lunchtime now. That's all right. And I haven't even got the heater on today. It could probably go on after I finish videoing because that roaring sound is a bit annoying. But nice to not have it going flat out. And not that we have it going flat out all the time because we'd be poor if we did. Gas bills come in and it wasn't nice. But anyway, we'll live with it. It's just, I hate to be in a situation, and I know, I'm sure there's many people out there in the world that can't have their heater going because they couldn't afford to, and I just would hate to be in that position. I feel for them. Because there are times when I think we shouldn't have our heater going, and it is. Anyway, it's not today, so that's good. Thinking about our environment and our hip pocket all at the same time, which is always a good thing to do. All right, so I need to, so the way that I've done this, I probably should go back to the topic, shouldn't I? We're talking about gas bills. It's a bit silly. When I put the pieces on and I get them pinned down with my, with these little, I like these little pins because they're nice and sharp, but they also are not, they don't get too tangled up in the threads while you're trying to stitch around them. And so then I start at what's underneath first. So in this situation, I would have started here. I'm right-handed, and so I work, you probably notice then, from right to left. I find that the most comfortable for me. So I start with this bottom piece first, and then the next piece that went over the top of it. So that piece got done, and then I moved on to this piece because it was on top of this, but under that and over the top of that. So in actual fact, the thing that got done first was that, because I had to trim it a little bit because it was a bit too long and I wasn't happy with a bit of grey of the stamp showing through here. I've moved that away now. So yeah, so that's the way that I work it. This was under this. I think it makes for a neater finish, and it makes sure I'm not second guessing where anything's going. So this is the last thing that I need to stitch on. I just need to make sure that I actually did go. I'm just going to go. Sometimes when things are overlapping like that, I'll make sure that I do come in around there and catch all those edges, But there's been a few times, as you can see, where I cut this too close and that I've had to sort of bury my needle in amongst the stitching so that I'm going in a good way, because I really am quite concerned that that fabric is just going to fray away from the embroidery. So a lesson to be learnt, if you're going to be using some new linen for things, and especially this very fine, you know, this linen wouldn't be, well, I don't know, I don't think that you would use it in dressmaking. I buy it in the patchwork shop because I think it is designed for embroidery work. It's just a matter of making sure that you give yourself plenty of space around whatever it is that you're doing. Or I've seen Corinne and a few other people use a fine glue on the edges. I think it's called art glitter glue. I don't have any. So I just did have the stiffening and I thought, well, I might use the stiffening and see how that goes. And normally I would back a piece of embroidery with, you know, like this Pelham stuff, or even the Violin, which is why I have it. And I didn't. So who knows why? You know, when I was talking to you about not carrying the thread across, it was the first time I actually thought about the fact that I hadn't actually backed it. Never mind. I've got some pink thread here because I just didn't think, oh, that might not be a good enough pink. I might use just a bit of this embroidery thread. I thought that pink might be all right, but I don't think that it's... This might be too strong, but I think it's better than pale. Yeah, so I'd wished that I'd backed it before I stitched it. I hadn't thought about that I was going to cut it up when I first started to do it. I really hadn't planned that out. I just was stitching it. I wanted something to take away for the weekend, and that's what it was. So this thread's just going to split on me. One strand. All right. Sort the glasses situation out so I can see what I'm doing. For those, well, my husband wanted to watch one of my videos, my videos. And he goes, what are you doing there? And, you know, you do it automatically sometimes. I don't know how people do, you know, that knot where they go like this, and I don't know how to do that. I've never mastered it at all. But this is like a quilter's knot. So I just hold the thread on my finger and the needle on top of it, and then wrap the thread 3 or 4 times around the needle, however many times you like, holding that wrapping, and push the needle through. Provides you with a nice, oh, if I can get a hold of it, a nice neat knot. It does leave a tail. If you don't want the tail, you can cut that off. On this, it doesn't matter. What am I doing? These little flowers. So I think what I'm going to do is, this lace has got like a little dint in each of these petals, and I don't want to carry it across that way, so I think I'll carry it this way. Yep, and my needle can just come through. Am I off screen? On screen? Where am I? Here. All right, so that's going to take me a few minutes to get round there. So I'm going to leave it for a minute, and move on, but you know what I'm going to do. So my next dilemma is this dark burgundy sort of colour that I used on the blossom, and it's my fault that I used it. Can't blame anyone else but myself. Because when I went to stitch it, I thought I need to know what blossom really looks like, and while I wanted some colour, I didn't. God, can you? Where am I? Look, where am I showing you? Oh yes, I am showing in the right place. You know, this is very, very pale pink, but this is really dark red, and so I feel like I need to put that dark red somewhere else. I was hoping these bits might have been sufficient, but they're not. So then I was like, oh, what will I do? I don't know how I'm doing it. I need to think about it. And while I was stitching all of this background, I remembered that I'd done this. And this was a snippet roll that I did with Anne Brooks. It says here 2021. I suspect that's when I finished it. I think I probably would have started it earlier than that. I know that I wasn't doing it in line with when Anne Brooks was actually running it on, it's a YouTube called Sew for the Soul if you're interested. But every now and then I get this back out because it reminds me of all the little stitching that I did in between things. And just these little daisy things, not that I forget that I can do a lazy daisy, but it's just nice to see it in relation to other things. So I always go back to things like this and then I go, oh my gosh, how did I do that? That was just amazing. I loved doing it. It was a very fun project to do. The base was from a quilt I'd made for my grandson that, you know, after you do your quilting, you straighten everything up. So these pieces here, because it was all greys and this mustard colour, and so some of this fabric only was like, it wasn't a full width and I had to add other bits on it, but it started it off. It gave me the base. And see, just even these little things in here with, you know, a bit of stem stitch and a bit of a lazy daisy with a little bullion knot on the end of it, and a bit of, no, not a bullion knot, a little French knot, and then a little bit of bullion stitch in here. I just think that it's great to go back. Oh God, look what I did there. Oh no, that's I thought, heavens, did I do all those bullion knots? No, I didn't. It's a flower under the beads. Whew, thought I was. But, you know, it's not following a pattern, and I think that's the thing that I like about it. It's got a fair bit of beading in it. I'm not going to put beading on this. These are floppy bits of sort of like, kind of like turkey work, but not really. You know, where I, you know, leave a big floppy big, you know, amount of thread and then stitch it down with a French knot. So what I thought I'd do is use this for a little bit of inspiration as to what I wanted to do. So I quite like some of this in here, which has got some, it's not feather stitch. What's the other one? It's like a Y. It left my brain. I'll think of it in a second. And then some pistol stitches around it. I quite like the look of that. I've used that in a few spots. These lazy daisies with a knot, I quite like those as well. Good. All right, well, I'm going to leave it there because I want to be reminded about what it is that I thought I might like. Sorry, my big pink arm over there. I'll pinch this needle. And I thought I'd just do a few little bits and pieces. And so I thought I'll do that with you. So while you won't see this piece finished until I put, you know, a photo of it on with a thumbnail, I'll make sure it's done before I post the video, which I'll probably do today, because tonight, overnight, we'll get Rachel and Sarah's video. So I thought just here, I'm going to do that Lazy Daisy. So I've used a double thread. I'm going to go in and back out up here. Make sure you catch the thread around here so that I've got that Lazy Daisy loop. And then what I might do is another, oh, am I doing all of that off screen? Goodness. Colonial knot. Sorry. So tension on the thread, which I was showing you in the video, but I was a bit far away. With a needle pointing away, wrap from left to right under the thread, bring it up and turn it and come back under the thread from left to right, spin it back around and take it down where you wanted it. I hope that that all worked. I'm going to stand up and make sure I'm in the right place if I can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to do another one here. So a Lazy Daisy first. That's about all I've got room for with the thread. So the stitches, the thread's under the needle. And now the colonial knot with my left hand, tension the thread. The right goes, oh, I'm too far away from it. Under, spin it, under, take it back, still maintain that bit of tension. Goodness, I can't see what I'm trying to do it by looking on the screen rather than at what I'm doing. Hold that little bit of tension with your left hand till you've got the knot in place. Cool. That was a struggle. I couldn't believe that it was like, you know, when you're trying to comb your hair backwards in the mirror. That was what it was a bit like. Will I be able to get another one out of here? A little one. We'll see if I can't fit the knot on the end. I don't know where to hold it now. Just totally disconcerted myself. There's nothing worse than second guessing, is there? And then that's it. You lose your confidence in it. There we go. Look, you know, it's not perfect, and I don't mind that it's not perfect, but I actually think it helps pull your eye there. So that's one. Good. All right. Oh, a bit of thread might be annoying, but I'm not going to finish that other thing off right at this second. Just want to get on with doing something else. Okay. That's good. That's just in there. It's just needs a bit of a fiddle. But yeah, I didn't want a whole heap of embroidery, but I just wanted something. And so I think I'm going to add a little bit sort of in here near these. I might just put actually some knots. I don't know, never know what I'm going to do till I do it. And like I said, if I don't like it, I'll pull it out because I really don't mind pulling things out. I'm wondering about that. Oh, feather stitch, that's it. Feather and fly. Should remember that they both start with an F, so that I just came to me right then when I was not thinking about it. So I think the feather one that is the one that's more like a Y, and the fly is one that's on a bit of an angle. So I think maybe, are you trying to tell me where I should put something? I'm actually wondering if I might put some knots in here. I know I haven't stitched it down, but that actually might work. I need another one of those sort of things somewhere, but I'll just do this one for a second. Oh, there's that colonial knot again. I just like them. I don't know why. It's supposed to be a figure 8, is how it's described. Forwards and backwards under the thread. And you can actually do it a double wrap that I learnt from Elisa Matic from Forage. And so she does forward, under, under. It gives you a bigger knot. If that's what you want, is a bigger knot, it just gives you a bigger knot. And this might actually be the thing that fixes it, fixes that problem. Because it really did disturb me that dark, and then it just wasn't anywhere else, and I just wanted it to be somewhere else. Just disturbed my eye. It may not do that to everybody, but it did it to me. I think I can probably get rid of that pin, because now these knots, I wonder if that will be enough. I might just wait till I do the next one and see if the knots are sufficient to hold it down. How many have I got? 4. I like an odd number. Just think it's more pleasing to the eye. Yeah, that's going to fix that problem, I think. Good, that's one done. All right. You know that I'm going to do that with all of them. And if I stitch it down, you won't know, but I might or I might not. I think I just want these somewhere else, and I'm thinking maybe even something that really needs to make sense. I don't need it to be just sort of somewhere. Sometimes I do a bit of this. Just lay the thread down and have a little bit of a, does that make sense if it comes out of there? Yep, I think it does. I think it does. And like I said, I'll pull it out if it doesn't. Get sick of me saying that. I think, I wonder if I put one on one side and one on the other. That might look all right. All right, so it's that lazy daisy stitch. It's a fairly big one, so it almost looks like a leaf rather than a flower. That's a bit ugly down the bottom there, isn't it? All right, I just think I wanted the bottom of the stitch to be beside each other, not sticking out miles away from it. The big gap in it. It's a nuisance. Just doesn't want to. It just doesn't want to. Oh, it really is being painful. All right, start again. I've got a gorgeous needle threader and it's not small enough to go through the eye of the needle for this needle, which is, you know, one of my favourite ones. So yeah, I just wanted to bring my needle and the thread a bit closer. That was all. Just thought it looked a bit ugly that other way. And then maybe on this side. And this is when I get into strife, because I actually never know when to stop. I always think, oh, I'll just add a bit of a stitch there, and I might just do a few stitches over there, and then I get just the normal crochet cotton out, because I think, oh, I could just have a bit of and another day goes by. Yeah, that looks all right there. I think it looks all right there anyway. Finish that one off. And let me see where else. And, you know, I don't know about you. I don't know what that looks like to you, but suddenly it feels like that's supposed to be there. Where before it looked like it was stuck out there on its own like a sore thumb. I was reasonably disappointed with what I'd done. Sorry, I'm going to have a sip of my cuppa that my husband made me before he went outside, and I told him to shush. And then I forgot to drink it. It's really cold. It nearly is cold. Oh dear. Never mind. Yeah, good. All right. Well, I do a little bit more. I wouldn't mind doing some of that feather stitch. I'm just using 2 strands because, and I heard somebody say once about splitting them singly before you use them helps to avoid it knotting too much. I don't know if it works or not. I don't have too many problems with knots, but in saying that, I'll have a massive one now because I've talked about it, and I should never do that. Good, come on, behave. We haven't got time to be mucking about with threading needles. Let me see what else is on this bit of thing that I'm looking at. Trying to get some. Oh, look at that one. That one is a lazy daisy with a bullion knot in the middle of it. Goodness, I spent a lot of time. This was the very first slow stitch thing that I ever did. And I think it was just that I loved doing it so much. And like I said, I never know when to stop. I'll just keep stitching, and then I think, oh, I'll just go back and I'll just, learn something new, and I go, oh, I'll just go and put that over there. Oh, there's a space there, I'll put it there. And before I know it, I've just done another 3 days worth of hand stitching on something. Let me think. I don't actually know where I want to put. I wouldn't mind a bit of feather stitch, but where? I think I kind of want something over here, but I didn't want to take too much away from the original embroidery. So I think I'll start with a straight stitch first. This is when my scooping embroidery skills don't really work so good. And then come over to the left. And what I understand about it is go in on the right, straight across from it. And then, yeah, can't scoop this one. Come back to the bottom of that first straight stitch and pull it tight. And then I think what I'm going to do is just do little bits like that. So it's just like lots of inspiration from Jennifer Clouston. Yeah, I think that looks good. I think I can do a little bit of something in here next to this leaf. So straight stitch first. Looks like a little bird's footprint. And come up from on the left, in on the right, out at the bottom there. Hopefully you can see it. And straight down. Good. I'm happy with that. I didn't want it to make a big statement piece. I just wanted a bit of something. And I hope you can see what I can see, and that you agree with me and you don't think that I should have stopped when I had the chance. I might actually put something in here. It feels like, you know, there's like this gappy spot there. I might do something like that. Yeah, I'm going to put a couple more of them down there, and then I might do something there. And then I think that will be it for me. I want to get on to starting a new project, and that's going to be the rest of this afternoon's decision making. Cute. Good. And then I'll get this up before our next summer prompt comes in. Our next prompt for summer happens. So I think I might do that same type of stitch in here, because, well, I didn't really want it to look like another flower in there. I wanted it to look like something. So I just, once I get my needle back in, I give it a little bit of a tug with my left hand just to pull that tension in, and I get that little bobble there. I think it'll come in here. And so while I've been sitting here doing this, stitching and chatting, I had a bit of a thought about taking the pink up to the top and going, maybe that's another thing that I hadn't thought about, helping the piece to work together. Yeah, gosh, what a difference that those little bits of darker colour made. And then when I've done those little things in there, that's going to be probably enough. I don't think that I'm going to need any more of the red, but I wouldn't mind the pink going up to the top. My nose is trying to decide whether it's going to sneeze, so I'm just, that could be what I do with I wouldn't have minded a bit of I don't think I'm going to get a fly stitch in here. Oh yeah, maybe. All right, this was just sitting here, so might as well use it. I think it's 3 strands though, and I don't want 3, I only want 2, because I don't need it. I was trying to decide whether I wanted to use a pearl cotton, but I don't think I really want it to be a feature. I just want it to make it a bit more cohesive. And so my thought about what I'm going to do, gosh, this pink is so hard to see against my skin. Oh, goodness. That's like near impossibility. How did I do it before? All right, done. Good. Okie doke. What I thought about was doing some here and coming to the corner. Let's see what that looks like as a thing. Sometimes what I like to do when I've got a patterned fabric as the background is to trace some of the pattern with just a single colour stitch, just to give it a bit of texture, a bit of interest, but I don't have that on this, so can't do that. On the cover I've done it. Yep, so directly across, which is supposed to make it fairly neat. And bringing that leg of the Y down gives you that sort of straight stitch that, you know, that we started with. And it does look like the veins of a feather, and that's the way that I remember it. Hopefully I've got it right. I've told you that. Oh, I can scoop here. Can't always love scooping. It's my favourite. But can't always happen. And I'm just making it a little bit wider as I get down. Just think that that looks okay. That's when you've got enough room between that you can scoop. Good, that will do there. And I can't just have one. Am I going to carry the thread across? Yeah, it'll be all right. This one I think can be a little bit longer than the first one. So feather stitches are reasonably simple. No scooping going on here. My goodness. Got itself in a knot. Got itself in a bit of a tangle. There we go. I'm nearly done. Couple of little things to finish off. I think it looks definitely like spring on this page. Oh, what I think spring would look like. It's not spring here, so it doesn't matter, but it just felt like it needed some bright colours. You know, we don't see roses here in where I live yet. They're kind of our, you know, closer to summer. We'll see all the new growth in spring, which my roses are certainly doing, but we won't see flowers for a little bit yet. Do I want another one there? No. And again, I'm sorry I am working upside down because I really like to work upside down, but I'll turn it around now for you. Oh, I think that is going to look all right. I'm actually going to do one more. You know, I haven't got enough thread. I need to rethread it, and you know how awful it was a minute ago. So I think the 3 there. If I do anything else there, I'm not completely 100% sure. I feel like I want to add something over there. This is what I mean. I never know when to stop. I'm hopeless at it. I have to tell myself to stop. That'll do. You don't need anything more on there. And then I go, oh yeah, but maybe I could just do a bit of that. You know, I thought I might outline it just in a running stitch. Yep, I'm going to do that. Do that right now. And then that's it, I'm going. You're going to be sick of me. All right. I'll look and see what it looks like first down the side. I don't think I'm going to commit to across the top. I think that might look a bit crazy. And that's what I learnt with running stitches. If you can get a couple of stitches on your needle scooped, it helps you to go straighter rather than go in, out, you know, like going in and then coming out. It's harder to stay straight, and I don't do it very well anyway. So, but if you can do threading of the fabric onto your needle, you will stay apparently straighter. But look, I think that looks quite good there. Alrighty, pulls the pink up and the other took the red down. And while I don't want it to look all matchy-matchy, I do want it to look like it's supposed to be together on the same page. Yeah, that's good there. I'm happy with that there. Will I do something here? You never know. I could just do just normal crochet thread. Quite like, and then that's just that quilting sort of, you know, like a running, like that, but just in this, which then gives it a chance to pop off the page, gives the page a bit of quilt, and I might do the same thing here. You never know. But anyway, that's me for today. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy it all. Take care. Bye.